Kusangpo and welcome to Queer Talks Season 2. I am your host Namgiza. Today I am going to be speaking to a very young man, Sangay Loday. It is wonderful to know you, by the way. He is just 18 years old, has worked as a restaurant steward, and is doing a lot of volunteer work at this point, which he'll be sharing a little more as we progress in the interview. He identifies as non-binary and gay. And before we really start with the personal questions, do you want to share with everybody watching what it means to be non-binary? Because I'm sure for many people it's the first time they're hearing this.
So being non-binary is very fun actually, because you're not actually male or female, but you're both at the same time you're neither. So like it's very fun actually, because you're like water. So when you're like water, you can absorb everything. So like you're being hit by discriminations, by insults, being called, is he a male or a female? That question that comes every time when you're non-binary. So when you're like water, you can absorb that. So being non-binary means getting hit by all the targets, and then you're absorbing it.
You know, this is actually Bruce Lee. He made this famous to be like water, to be fluid. Like it's exactly what it is, right? Non-binary, to be fluid. You don't identify with stereotypical definitions of what it means to be male or what it means to be female. But how did you discover that you were non-binary?
Firstly, moving back to what you said about stereotypes, when you're non-binary, like especially for a male, since we live in a bit of a male-dominated country, we can see that everyone wants something from the male society. They're like, you should be strong, you should carry this, you should not paint your nails. And then, sorry, I just wanted to show that.
That's okay.
I just want people to know that when you're a male trying to be non-binary, you have to break all the stereotypes.
Of course,
like
of course.
destroy, and then you're finally I'm non-binary. So based on the stereotypes you just said, we have to break it all. Then only we're able to feel that. So if we can break the stereotypes, really like absorb them and make that when you're non-binary, the stereotypes doesn't exactly count. You don't want to be male, you don't have to take this stereotype. You don't want to be female, you don't have to take this stereotype. So that's how it is.
So how did you find out that you're non-binary?
So I was painting my nails, like I said before, and then I was just, you know, that feeling you have your whole life, you know, that feeling you're carrying on one year after the other, again and again and again, and suddenly someone puts a word on it. For me, it was like non-binary. I just searched and I don't have to be male, because when I was small, I was a bit feminine, and my parents said, don't be feminine, be masculine. Busum bego, busum as benimi bumsum beni. Zutan tavede, and walk be with a bumsum my busum be. So I was filled with that kind of stereotype. It's a bit annoying actually. Capital ANOING. The whole annoying, really annoying. But when I was given that name, non-binary, it means I don't have to live by the standards anymore. And then I discovered that it was non-binary because some part of me, like right in the heart, spoke as soon as I saw that word, non-binary.
Um, you know, the last year with the pandemic, it's been so challenging for so many people. It was a defining moment for you as well. It was a different kind of a challenge.
Yes.
Share with us.
So first of all, I'm going to start with this. Most people, it was very difficult for them because they were trying to make a living. They were trying to cope up with lockdown. For me, it was like an amazing moment. I'm so sorry. I was very optimistic during the lockdown because I was able to learn so much about myself. Even in past, I was 17 that moment. So in the past 17 years, I had learned within that 1 year, I had learned more about myself than compared to the past 17 years.
Oh, wow.
So I wrote, learned how to write because I always wanted to learn how to write in a manner of, you know, making my emotions into reality. I wanted to do that. So during the lockdown, I learned how to do that. And then finally, there was this moment, it was really raining, and I had made a cup of coffee, and I sat down, and I took a deep breath. And then what I did was the whole emotion started flowing to me. Usually, us writers, we have to think about what we're going to write, right?
Right.
So as soon as I sat down, it came. It just came.
Yeah, you were
My-
touched by a muse.
yeah, my fingers, they kind of felt like, write something, you were talking to me. You know, the feeling, it comes in your fingertips.
Right.
And I wrote something there. I wrote this really important letter to my family. It was about me, it was about my past. It was not just about my sexuality, but about my whole life, how
Right,
it is.
right.
So that's what I wrote.
And you made me read the letter just before this interview as well, and it's a beautiful piece of work. But because we don't have the time to read the entire
No.
letter, I want to request you to read a segment from it for us.
So, yeah, let me just read the segment. Every time I thought about coming out, the world gave me just a reason not to. I didn't want my identity to go just as a passing to another person ever again. All I wanted to hear all my life were the words, "It's okay. I don't care," or even a small hug. Those were the only words I wanted to hear and the only thing I wanted to feel. Because when you're a closed up homosexual living a life in fear, those words truly are the truth which sets you free. So, my dear family, this is when I wrote to my family. You know?
Yes.
I was standing in front of my family, and then all of
This
them
is
were
like your mom,
around.
dad, everybody
Yeah.
around you, right?
So, like, my sister was here, another sister was here, there was my aunt here, and my mother was right in front. But let me get to that part later. So, my dear family, I hope you don't hate me too much for me being the person that I am. That is gay. But if you do hate me, just know I understand and I accept it. I don't know if you're surprised that this was my true identity, but all I can say for now is that I'm sorry for being such, let's move on to the next page, a hard person to deal with. And I'm sorry I became this way because I tried. I tried to be a son you loved and a brother you wanted. But in the end, all I am is the person standing before you. And I have so many things I have to do with my life, things that may seem scary and risky at times. But please know that I do this with the greatest of intentions, and I will always try to give my best to live my life to the fullest, and never doubt that I would ever give up because all I am and all I ever will be are the results of my choices. So yeah, I was reading this letter to them, and my mother was here. My mother was in front, and my sisters were here. So I was reading. I was just focused on the letter, and I was trying not to look at them. And suddenly, when I stopped reading the letter, I just looked up, and my mother was crying. My sister was crying.
Aww.
The other sister was also crying.
Right.
My aunt was also crying, and I was like, "Oh my God, someone say something!" It's so awkward. I was also like, the
Oh
tears are
gosh.
coming down.
Right.
It was so awkward. But then suddenly my sister ran to me and she said that I love you no matter what. And in a way, my sister in the past, when she didn't know, she kind of insulted me by saying that I was gay and "Chakain, chakain." I got all these words. So she kind of realized what she was doing, and then
Right.
she felt so sorry for me.
Right.
Then my other sister came, and then the mother,
Yeah.
Then I looked at my mother. Oh my God! And I was like, "Mommy, do you have anything to say?" And she was crying for the in my 18 years, I never saw her cry.
Right.
So something that I did which made her cry was like I felt a little bit guilty at the same time, a little bit freeing. And she said that I will love you no matter who you are, what you do. And I was like, okay, that's one weight lifted off me. And then I didn't hug my mother that time. I should have hugged my mother. But I just looked at her and I felt guilty. And she was crying and crying and she's trying to understand because in some parts of my past, she also insulted me that way. She also mistreated my gender. So I think there are two guilty sides there. She was guilty, I was guilty. And then all my family, they were crying and crying, and I had to go with my friends, and I just picked up my bag and and I just went.
You wanted to get away from that?
No,
Was it a
it
little
was like I
overwhelming?
planned it like this,
I
like
see.
a whole month before.
Oh, I
So it was in
see.
March, so in February I planned it.
Right.
So as soon as my exams ended, I just went home and I planned. As soon as I come out, I'm gonna go to my friend's house and live there because I needed some space for my family. I needed them to realize, take their time to understand, and I needed some time for myself.
Okay.
So I just went to my friend's house and I told them that this happened, that happened, and they were like so happy for me.
Right.
And I was like, I rested. I was like, I was shaking.
Of
I
course, of
I was
course. It's
so
such a big
nervous,
deal. Yeah.
shaking. And then finally, actually, I did this next. I video called my sister who was in power and then said, hey, I won't say her name because she wouldn't like it. Hey, sister, I just say sister. I'm gay. And she said, hindi na kayo siya wala. And I was
And you
like,
were like, what an anticlimax.
oh, it was like I wanted such a warm moment, and she was like, it was such a boring. She just made it a bit boring, but I was happy because when you realized earlier, you're like prepared to accept me. So she was waiting for that.
But you read this letter out to somebody else before your family. Remember, you said you had like a
Yeah. Oh,
neighbor.
I
You want to
forgot
share
that.
that? Yeah, because
Yeah,
that was important for
before.
you as
Yeah,
well.
it was really important. I think in the past years, when you're hurt again and again and again and again, you either become two people. You're like so traumatized, you're like emotionally numbed that you can't feel, and you feel like, or either you're over the pain. So you don't know how to differentiate between these two feelings because you don't feel anything. You feel happy, but is it true? Is it not that you experience the sadness at all? So that was me. I was emotionally numbed because everyone kind of treated me a little bad, and I took that pain and I smiled over that pain. So that was a bit different for me, and I didn't know that I had so much blocked up until I read this letter to my friend. So I wrote this letter, and I read it out to her. I went to her. She's actually my neighbor, and I went to her home and I read it out.
She's a neighbor of like 16, almost your whole life
Yeah,
actually,
for
right?
16 years.
Right.
So I went to her house and I was like really nervous, but 16 years of friends. I mean, she deserves to know. I thought she deserves to know I came from here. And then I sat down on the bed and she was lying over there and just like, I have something. I always do this actually. Tell me a secret and I'll tell you a secret. And she's like, I don't have any secrets. I told you everything.
Right.
I was like, okay, I'll tell you this secret. And I searched on my laptop. Actually, the folder's name itself is secret. So I just typed secret. And then I just waited for the file to come out because it takes some time. And then she was like waiting near me. And then I just waited. And then finally the file popped up. And I pressed on the file. It opened up. And then I told her, "And read bish, as read away." And then she was reading it, and I was like, I was just nearby, because in the past she said that she does not accept LGBT in a way. So I thought she would go against me. But I was waiting and waiting, and then she finally read the letter, and she turned off my laptop and kept it inside. And then she came to me and hugged me. And then that's when I realized all the pain I had been holding out, I need to let it go. And then when she hugged me, everything like came to me. And then I cried so much. I cried for like 30 minutes straight. Oh my God. And then she was like, it's okay, it's okay. And I was like, don't cry. We're finished crying. I told myself I was finished crying, but then it kept coming, kept coming. I was like, it's like you block the drain, you know, and suddenly you take it out and you see how much was left. And it was like the same for me. I cried because I deserved to cry at that moment, but I didn't. I deserved to cry at lots of moments, but I didn't.
You kept it all inside.
And suddenly it burst that moment. So that's why when I opened up to my family, I didn't cry as much because I already cried a lot.
Right, right. You already had that moment, right?
So a few days ago, we had a meeting to get to know each other. So I thought about myself and what kind of person I am. So I thought I was a person who overcame so many obstacles and I'm okay. The pain has subsided. And so I used, in order to see if that was correct, I watched a compilation of coming out videos. And in the past when I watched it, I used to envy them because their family used to hug them and accept them. And I wanted that. And I always expected the worst from my family. I always expected that they would kind of reject me. So when I watched the same video, it was the same video actually. I watched the same video a few days ago. I actually cried. You know, when you cry to the point where you hiccup, the tears like they were streaming down my face. But my family, they didn't see me. I was crying alone in the bedroom. I was watching the video and crying. That means that I have so much pain that I have to deal with.
Still, yes.
So I'm emotionally numbed by what has happened, and then there's so much for me to learn. So I'm really confused.
But you know, you act like you're 81 years old. You're 18. You have like your whole life. Like you have this year, these I mean, like you were saying, there was so much trauma, right? Like you've experienced so much trauma. So definitely, I think for all of us, even as a cisgender woman, like whatever trauma it is, it takes, I mean, healing takes a lot of time, you know? So I think for you, I think you expected that it would be a cathartic moment, you know, all of those years of pain, like you come out and it's all over. But now, like, this is like your next level, right? Like after we've met, like you didn't even know this about yourself, that you still need to do a lot of self-healing. We talked, self-healing is there, but what you shared with me is you wanted someone to tell you when you were younger about self-acceptance, right? Do you think that would have helped lessen the trauma?
Definitely, because as you said before, I sound like an 81-year-old. because I have so much trauma in my past that I had to deal with it, so I know a little bit about how it is. So that makes me sound old.
You're old soul, that's okay.
Because when I was young, no one talked about LGBT to me. No one told me that being gay is a concept. Actually, it was a concept, you know. It was a concept way years ago. It was a concept. And then no one told me about self-healing, self-love, self-acceptance. And when we all of the humans, we come in different forms, different personalities. No one told me about that. No one told me about accepting about that. So when I look about when I'm 18, and when I look at the past, if someone had told me that you can accept yourself, even if you are fat, ugly, and miserable, you can accept yourself. You know, you don't have to look at yourself in a miserable way. And I look at the person, all of those years in the past, the one who hated himself, the one who tried to cut himself, the one who tried to poison himself, and the one who looked in the mirror and hated it so much that he tried to break it. If someone had told him, that person, that you can love yourself, that the person in the mirror, your own reflection, is someone that needs, that deserves love, then I would have been a much different person right now. I might have been a bit open right now. Because in some cases, I'm very sensitive because all of the things that happened in the past. So if someone had told me that, I might have been just, you know how the spectrum of the rainbow is?
Yes.
I think if one of the colors of the rainbow is pain, then I think in my spectrum, the pain is a little bit more. So instead, all the spectrums will not represent it equally. So if all the spectrums, in my past, if someone had said that, then I would become an amazing rainbow. So that's...
But you are on the journey to that. because
Yeah.
you have started your journey of
Yeah.
self-acceptance. I mean, there's even this element of celebration of who you are, like
Yeah.
the way you're involved in so many things. You want to, like you're telling me, I was asking you, oh, but aren't you going to go to college? And you're like, but I'm so busy doing so many things. So right, like you've like started to, the word you used was, I'm investing in myself. So I want you to share this.
Yeah, so when I was during the lockdown, I thought about going to college. Yeah, I'm going to go to college next year. 2021 is going to be my college year. And I was like, suddenly February came. I think February. Yeah. And I thought, oh, college, I don't want to go there. There's so many personal problems I had to deal with. And then college is not there. I mean, I'm already doing all the assignments that are being done for that. So my friends also asked me to do some assignments, and I can see how the scenario is. It's fun, but that's not how I want my life to go. So then I stopped and I took a step back. College, I blocked the road actually, and then I changed my view to something else. So it was like this: the light, my whole life was lighted by someone else, and I looked at the darkness and I went there. Instead of a life being all my life being planned for me, I just looked at the dark and I just went there.
The unexplored part of yourself.
So I love that. I love that what I'm doing right now is mysterious because every step I take, it's a bit impromptu, and it brings me so much opportunities. Like the first time I joined something was there's an organization called Youth Advocacy Network Bhutan,
Right.
and I volunteered there. They gave me a platform to moderate activities, to moderate interviews, and I learned that I could do that. And then from then on, I went on to join the Movers program. The Movers program is an international program which focuses on SDGs, and there they allow you to do your own workshops. So I was a leader. I was able to lead someone through my voice. So I learned so much about myself. So I gained opportunities. That's why I join organizations because they always give me new opportunities, new platform, new stages. So most of the people say, do you get money? So this is not for the money. This is for self-learning because I get to invest myself in something that is important to the world itself. I might be taking a small step, my own small steps to changing the world. So if if the organization is able to give me that, then I think that's the only thing that matters.
I love how mature you are. Have people said that to you?
Yes, yes, every time,
You're like, I don't want to hear it anymore.
it's like people will say, how old are you? I'm 18. Oh my God, you're 18?
At least I don't do it because my friend also like, you had AGS. No, what does it matter how old or how young one person is, right? Like, I love how you're living your life so richly, and despite having experienced so much trauma, not having had a lot of time to heal, but your self-awareness is there, I think, which is amazing. And do you give a pat to yourself on the back because that's a part of you that is quite exceptional?
Yeah, giving a pat to myself is kind of a different road now.
Let me pat you on your back.
Yeah, it's like when you come from a lifeline, from age where your parents kind of have huge expectations, and no matter what you do, they're like, there's only that much.
Yeah.
And I was like, so let me tell you a small story quickly. So when I was small, I was very good in studies. I used to give my all in studies. So when I was class 4, 6, 8, I used to bring scores up to 80s and 60s, and I showed my parents, and I used to get high in some while low in others. And my parents always look at the low ones. How about the low ones? That's also going to count in the result. But look at the high one. I put my effort in the high one. Why aren't you accepting that? I like kind of shouted from my heart. So when I was class 10, that was the most optimal moment where I left my parents' expectations. I got 90 something in bio, and in my life I never got 90s. And I told my mom, look, 94 something in bio na, and she was like, so and I was the whole fiber of my body, it just went down. I was like crushed.
Right.
I was like, I put so much effort in the subject, and you're not even accepting it. Why? Then my parents' expectation, I kind of ignored it. That's why when people say you don't listen to your parents, I don't listen to my parents. It's not like I don't listen to my parents. I just want to take the path where I want to make for myself. And sometimes my parents' words, it doesn't go there. So when I want to make a future for myself, it doesn't mean I have to include everyone else's opinions. I'm so
Right.
sorry, but I have to say this.
No, you don't have to apologize, because I think this is the reason why we have so many mental health problems,
Yeah.
because sets of expectations are so different,
Yes.
and the way there's no way to communicate across those expectations, right? Because you belong to one mindset, your parents belong to a certain type
Yeah.
of generation, right? And you come from the younger generation that wants to explore. Life is more than the scores you bring home. The effort that you made isn't the type of effort that your parents may consider effort, right? Like what you just demonstrated
Yeah.
by this example. But having said that about your parents, your experience, you also want to you also shared with me that your immediate family is your biggest support system at this point after you having come out, embracing who you are. It's the extended family that's a problem.
My biggest support, no, no. They support me, but in their own way.
But not the biggest support
No.
system.
My
Okay.
biggest support is my friends, actually. They're like, oh my God, you're gay, right? I'm so proud of you. Then they hug me. I mean, even the people I don't know, they're coming to me and like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I don't know him, but okay.
Yeah, but then, like they say, like Hari, my friend, Bhutan through fashion, and we always say our family is who we choose as our family. You know, like I
Yeah, and
subscribe
the
to
family
that.
we get along the way.
Yeah, yeah, like your friends, like they're your tribe, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones who bolster you, who encourage you, and then who want you to be the best version of yourself.
So
And
yeah,
you think you're lucky to have found that
yeah.
tribe,
I'm just happy that my family accepted because I came out with the intention of them not accepting. So it
right?
kind of changed.
So at least that hurdle you've overcome, and then now you've begun your journey of self-healing, self-discovery more, and then you are chasing your dreams, and your parents are okay with that right now.
I make sure they're okay because I kind of forced them.
Let's talk about your future. Like, what do you have planned for yourself?
Before that, let me just say this one thing. After I came till now, when I look back on my past, I see that I've become a person who puts a lot of effort in everything. But whenever I see it done, even if after the talk show is done, if I look at it again, I'll be like, oh, I should have said this. It's
Yeah.
never enough for me. I think I've become that type of person based on the childhood, the journey in life that I had.
You want
So,
to be a perfectionist
perfectionist
in
in
a
a
way?
way, but I want to give myself the feeling of that no matter what you did, it's going to be enough. I
Okay.
always tell everyone that, but I'm not able to live by that philosophy myself because you are enough. I want to write it on my head, actually, in my heart, because I want myself to realize that what I'm doing is enough because actually 10, 11 years ago, I wanted to be the person that I am right now.
Right.
So I need to accept that fact that I've come a long way, that I can
Yes.
go a long way.
Yes.
So that's the kind of
I think you're very
philosophy
impatient with yourself.
put myself. Yeah.
Okay, then you have
No,
this
no.
path ahead of you,
Yeah.
right? So what do you want to do?
I want to make a career out of volunteerism, which is really difficult. But when you volunteer everywhere, you don't have a job. So like I'm volunteering everywhere because I want experience. So like
Of course.
when you volunteer everywhere, you can't actually put it in the CV because.
Of course you can.
But in a way, it's like you don't have job experience. They look at that more in a way, don't they? It's like I'm gonna keep volunteering in new organizations. Till now, I've volunteered and I'm still a part of 10 organizations.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Wow, look at
so I
you.
want to help those organizations build the
But this is
organizations.
experience, and I think now the mindsets of employers are changing as well. And I think you have such a great attitude. And
Oh, one more thing. I am creating a project called Project I Faggot. So I think you know what the word faggot means.
yes, yes,
And there's a very negative
connotation,
energy,
of
yeah.
course. Yes.
So I want to change that word to a positive
Okay.
narration.
Okay.
So I want the word faggot in my project to represent all the words in every country, all across the world, which are all the words they use to insult people like us, people of all the LGBTIQA plus community. So I want to use this project to empower those. Whenever we're called, because I was born after I came out and during when I was going through that stage, I made myself accept that word. You are a chaka. You are a faggot. Accept it. And I grew power around it. So I want the same philosophy to go through this project. Project I faggot. It's like the I period faggot. Because when I say I, it's like you have that energy. Faggot means you're gonna accept it and you're gonna bring the energy from yourself. And even if the society is not gonna accept you, you're gonna use that energy and stir your way through it. So that's the very main objective of my project. So I'm trying to work on that project. It's under Global Shapers, and I hope it becomes something.
I hope so. Good luck with that. And I think you need to add motivational speaker to your CV.
I'll try.
But Sangay, thank you so much for bearing your heart, your soul to us, for being so candid. I really appreciate it, and I can really feel your pain and where you want to go and what you want to do. And I just want to say thank you so much. And Queer Voices also appreciates you sharing your story, so they have this little goodie bag for you. I think there's a lot of things in there that will make you happy as well. So thank you so much, Sangay, and I
you.
really really wish you all the best with your path, and I'm sure we'll be in touch with each other. So
Sorry.
I would love to be a part of your life's journey as well. And
So could I have a last word?
of course, go ahead.
So to everyone who's watching this, I just want to say that you can be different. The word different means that you're not going to live a normal life. And living a normal life doesn't actually mean everything's going to go great. Living a different life, live a different life, because everyone has their own journeys. So don't forget that you are different, I am different, everyone is unique, and you can use that uniqueness to stir your own way to your future. Never forget the uniqueness comes from your heart, and that can lead to your future.
Motivational speaker at 18 years of age. So wise. But thanks so much again, Sangay. And thank you to all of you who've given us your time. We also want to thank the Embassy of Canada to Bhutan for sponsoring the second season of Queer Talks. Thank you.